This module is for section 1.5, quadratic equations in application. Typically, anytime we do any problems in application, which means word problems, they tend to be a bit more challenging. The fact that these are quadratic equation, which means that we have two answers a lot of times, also adds to the complexity. But if with some patience and a little bit of diligence, we can get through this. So there's a variety of types of questions that you'll see. So one of the types of questions is related to number relationships. So in this case, it says that the product, which means multiplication, of two consecutive, meaning right next to each other, odd integers is 143. So for example, consecutive odd would be like 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, etc. So what they're saying is you take two of these numbers, multiplying them together, and your answer is going to be 143. So let's say we don't know what the first number is, and we're going to call it x. And we're going to multiply it by the next number that comes in the pair. Well, we can see to get from 1 to 3, we have to add 2. To get from 3 to 5, we have to add 2. To get from 5 to 7, we have to add 2. So in this case, to get from x to the next odd number, we would do x plus 2. So product means multiply, so we have x times x plus 2, and we know that our answer should be 143. At this point, we have the equation. We just want to simplify. So we're going to take this x times each of these parts. And we have x squared plus 2x is equal to 143. And then we're going to make our quadratic equation equal to 0. So we have x squared plus 2x. I'm going to subtract 143 from both sides and set that equal to 0. At this point, when you get to an equation that's in standard form, meaning you have x squared, 2x, and negative 143, you have a variety of options to solve it. You can solve it by factoring. You can solve it by completing a square. You can solve it by using the quadratic formula. If factoring is challenging for you, the quadratic formula will always be our friend. So remember, the quadratic formula is x is equal to the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, where the number that's in front of the x is our a, the number that's in front of the x squared is a, the number in front of x is b, and the constant is c. So using this formula, I can say x is equal to, since b is equal to 2, the opposite of b is going to be negative 2 plus or minus the square root of. The b value squared is going to be 4 minus 4 times 1 times negative 143 all over 2a, which is 2 times 1. I can simplify the inside of this by taking negative 4 times 143, negative 143. So if I take 4 times 1 times 143, I get negative 572. So this is the square root of 4 minus negative 572. So when I add 4 to that, I get the square root of 576. Using my calculator and taking the square root of 576, I get that that number is 24. So this simplifies to be x is equal to negative 2 plus or minus 24 all over 2. So this part I just did with my calculator. I took the square root and I got 24. And that's where that came from. So the two answers that I have are negative 2 plus 24 divided by 2, or negative 2 minus 24 divided by 2. If I take negative 2 plus 24, I get 22. Divided by 2 is 11. And if I take negative 2 minus 24, I get negative 26. Divided by 2 is 13. Excuse me, negative 13. So in this case, the two consecutive odd integers, that will multiply together to give me 143 is if I start with the number 11 and I multiply that by 13, that will give me 143. Or if I start with negative 13 and I multiply that by negative 11, I will get 143. So these are the sets of numbers that will satisfy this equation. 11 and 13, and negative 13 and negative 11. This second example is also related to number relationships. It's a little bit more challenging. So we have the word difference, which means subtraction, and we have the word squares, which means multiply by itself, two positive consecutive integers, and we know that that difference, subtraction of each of their squares, is 60. And we're trying to figure out that case. They give us a hint that says if x is our first number, to let x plus 2 be our second number. So again, if I had consecutive even numbers, that would be like 2, 4, 6, 8. So our first number is x. That would be like having this one. And to get to our next number, our second number must be x plus 2. So we're going to square each of these numbers. So that means I'm going to take x plus 2 and square it. And I'm going to take x and square it. And it says that the difference is 60. So I'm going to subtract these two, and that should equal 60. So the question might be, why did I choose to make this one subtract this one? Well, this is going to be a bigger number because it's farther down the line. So I want to take the bigger number and subtract the smaller number to make it equal to 60. So again, our ultimate goal is to get the equation into ax squared plus bx plus c form so that I can either factor or use the quadratic formula. Before I can do that, I have to actually multiply this out. So we had learned in a previous section that if I have x plus 2 squared, that means I'm taking x plus 2 times x plus 2. So this gives me x squared, 2x, 2x, and 4. So just this part right here is the same as having x squared plus 2x plus 2x plus 4. I then have to subtract x squared, and I will equal 60. So in this particular case, I can see that my positive x squared and my negative x squared cancel, which is awesome because then I won't have to use this equation. And I have 4x plus 4 is equal to 60. So to solve this, I'm going to subtract 4 from this side and subtract 4 from this side. That gives me 4x is equal to 56. I'm going to divide both sides by 4. I'm going to x is equal to 14. So that means that my original number, x, this number right here is 14, and the next number is 16. And those are my two answers for this problem.